Mr. Ogaibe actually talked about how revenue of some of this freight forwarders and local the licensed customs agents are affected, and you were going to also comment on it.
The what I can say with respect to that is the fact that we are in a process of readjusting the economy, of ensuring that things become better structured. So if you have been working on a fairly inefficient basis before now, in the process of trying to correct it, of course, some things must give. And that's where people who have been totally dependent on import-export business, which gives very little value, as it were, would need to also readjust and move into more efficient areas. It's happened in many other sectors, like was said just before now. I mean, there has been a ban placed on rice, duty hike on various products just to adjust the performance of the economy in those areas. So this is one of those areas where there is a need to structurally change the economy. And if you have been operating in a very inefficient area, of course, it must affect you one way or the other. But like I said, all it requires is for people to study the direction of government. Because this is a policy change. And a policy change will necessarily require that you do things slightly differently. Revenue is not going to drop because people will still bring in cars. Those who have affinity for luxury cars will still bring them in. They pay high duties. If they pay high duties, customs would be the better for it.
But what
Our
about
revenue base would be the better for it. But those guys who are in clearing used cars and whatever would also now have to just clear more of the components and the CKDs that come in to make up the used cars, because it will take us quite a while to be able to completely substitute imported components for locally available products. So they just need to study the market and see what where the changes are and readjust their business. They won't have vehicles on wheels, but they'll have other materials coming in, which are more beneficial to the economy than the used cars that they've been used to.
But then they're also complaining that some of this, the value of some of these materials or CKDs is actually put at 0%, that there's no tariff on it. And so at the end of the day, they still do not make any money.
They do not make money based on what the tariff is. If I'm bringing in stuff, the agents still make their money because they have to clear the stuff. It's government that does not get the revenue because it's a zero-based item. Now, while some has been brought to zero, some have been taken to 70%, 35% duty and 30% levy.
And tax holidays on some.
Yeah, on some components like tires and the like. But as much as possible, you have situations where people will still bring in the different brands of cars that come in, but they're going to pay much higher duty. While those who bring in components to add value, because you must understand that they bring in components to add value. They put people to work. They train and employ people. They purchase parts locally, and they eventually create wealth. It's different from people who just make money from helping to source the goods out of the ports. So one way or the other, the economy is being rebased, if you like, into a more efficient platform. And if you have been engaged in an area that has not been as efficient as it should be, all you need to do is just readjust. And then that's what they have to bear in mind, that there are going to be changes, as there have been in other areas as well. Like I said, when the Agric minister determined that there were things we could produce here, bans were placed on them. And encouragement was given to people in other sectors of the same industry. And I'm sure overall the country is better for it. Same thing is applicable here. Overall, the company will be better for this policy, while in actual fact, some people might be required to adjust their business profile to fit in line with the new perspective.
Well, Mr. Arumolaro, if you import components to add value, what is the local value actually added in the assembly plants?
It depends, and it also moves over time. On commercial vehicles, for instance, there is a lot of room to add local value, because all along the value chain, there are instances where you're able to substitute parts that you import for parts that are produced here. The issue with the auto industry is that a lot of the component manufacturers went underground when the first set of assembly plants closed down. Now, they need to see another industry develop before they revive their own subsector. It's one of those areas where a new industry a new company will not come on stream making components if they do not see an off-taker. Now the off-takers have been put in place, and we have seen a lot of movement from component manufacturers now trying to come in. That is where we're going to get the most gain from this policy, where Nigerians will start to make those parts. They will be tested and confirmed that they're of international standard, and then they can be used to substitute the parts that are imported at the moment. And that's where more Nigerians are put to work, more local materials are used, less and less of materials are imported. Less and less foreign exchange is drained, and at the end of the day, you can have what you call a wholly Nigerian car. And that is going to happen over time. It's not going to happen overnight because there's also safety involved. You've got to be sure that the parts that you are using to substitute parts that have been tested are also properly tested. This policy is barely 1 year old. I mean, it's barely 6 months old. You're not going to have all the parts being substituted overnight, and it still be called the same car that you used to import. But the whole plan is for auto parks to be developed by government, where these components can be produced, certified, and then used to substitute imported parts. And I do know that there is a plan by government to establish auto parks in three areas in the country. And after doing that, to ensure that they now give, they stipulate a period over which certain levels of local content addition must be achieved by all the auto plants.
Okay, so now, Mr. Ogiagbe, we're really on home stretch now. You know, in very few words, could you just say how all parties, all stakeholders concerned can work together to ensure that this policy is a win-win situation for all?
Okay, we are a normative stakeholder in this business, and I do take precedence from the fact that there have been attempts like when we had the backward integration just beyond this time. More than ever before, we are hoping that all stakeholders will cover their flanks, especially when the issue of smuggling. The borders are very porous, so it's not just that the custom persons there, the borders, patrol, all the people, the transparency level of banks, or transparency level of the stakeholders, and all of them put together in ensuring that we come to a level playing field.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with me this morning and the rest of us this morning. Gentlemen, thank you for coming to the studio. I've been speaking with the Managing Director of Volkswagen Nigeria, Mr. Tokunbo Aromolaro, and the Chairman, Automobile and Allied Group of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Oseme Ogiagbe. And of course, you know that the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, had a World Press Conference today, and our correspondent, Sarah Wakili, reports that Mr. Emefiele hopes to build a professional central bank, which is people-oriented as well as a political. He also plans to build a resilient financial system and create a people-oriented CBN that maintains price stability. He will pursue a gradual reduction in interest rate, a stable exchange rate, and manage potential threats to external reserves. Well, that's the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Harriet Agbeni. Bye-bye.